Once upon a time in a bustling city of Lagos lived a man called Aku. Aku is a meat seller who sells meats in the market along other of his colleagues. One day, Aku stood in the crowded marketplace of the sprawling city, the sounds of haggling customers and vendors calling out their prices filling the air. His butcher stall, once lively and prosperous, now stood desolate. The passers-by ignored him, flocking to other butchers who boasted fresher, higher-quality meat. Aku's frustration mounted as he watched his competitors thrive while he barely scraped by. The meat at his stall was given to him by a friend, a debt that Aku couldn't afford to repay unless he made some sales. His hands trembled as he rearranged the cuts of beef and goat on display, hoping someone, anyone, would take notice. But no one did. The city, with its towering skyscrapers and bustling streets, offered plenty of opportunities for those with money. For Aku, money was slipping through his fingers like sand, and each day felt like a step closer to ruin. At home, his wife, Madia, grew increasingly worried. Their apartment in the city's outskirts, once a place of joy and laughter, had become a space of tension. Aku barely spoke to her or their two daughters, Swachi and Nana. He was too consumed by his business troubles, too afraid to tell Madia how close they were to losing everything. She noticed how his eyes, once bright and full of ambition, were now dark with worry. Their youngest daughter, Nana, was too young to understand, but Sachi, their eldest child, could sense something was wrong. "Aku, we need to talk," Madia had said that morning, her voice soft but firm. Aku had merely nodded, avoiding her gaze. He knew he needed to find a solution, and soon. Late that night, after closing his empty stall, Aku wandered aimlessly through the city streets as he bumped into an old acquaintance, Kane. Kane had always been a smooth talker, known for his shady deals and connections with the city's underworld. "Aku, my man, it's been a while," Kane greeted him with a wide grin. He offered Aku a cigarette, but Aku declined, his mind too clouded with worry. Kane, sensing his friend's distress, pressed on. "What's wrong, Aku? You look like you've been dragged through hell," as they found a place to sit around a bar. Without much hesitation, Aku opened up, telling Kane about his failing butcher business, the debt he owed, and the pressure of providing for his family. Kane listened, his eyes gleaming with opportunity. "You know," he began, "I could help you. There's a way for you to get back on top, but it's not for the faint of heart." Aku's curiosity piqued, and against his better judgment, he asked what Kane meant. Kane leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "There's a group, a secret society. They can guarantee you wealth, power, and success in this city, but they need something in return." Aku's heart raced. "What do they want?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Kane's grin widened. "Nothing much, just that when it's the right time, you will comply. And it's still something you can do, seeing you already have a business. They can make you wealthy. All you have to do is sell meat. I will give you a contact of who you have to meet that will show you the way things are done." Aku recoiled at the thought, but Kane's words stuck in his mind. Desperation clouded his judgment. He accepted the card to reach out to the person, since he has no other choice, and after a few moments of hesitation and struggle, he nodded and gave in. He didn't see any other way out. That night, Aku lay awake in bed, his thoughts racing as he didn't know what might be asked of him. He didn't if he had agreed to something unspeakable. But the temptation of wealth, shame, sadness, desperation, the promise of success was too strong to wave out just like that. As Madia slept beside him, unaware of the dark path Aku was heading to, Aku's mind wandered to his daughters. What kind of father was he to make a deal like this? But then again, what kind of father would let his family starve, or not try to save them? The next evening, Aku found himself standing outside a house near downtown as written in the card. At the door he stood as someone opened the door. "We have been expecting Akunaya," a man at the door said. Aku's mind raced in fear. "How do you know my full name?" he asked. "Knowing your full name isn't the key to your wealth. Rather, the wishes through which you came here to look for, a purpose to be great no matter the cost," the man at the door said. Aku, without further questions, went inside and sat with the man. He is a priest to the secret society Aman. All you have to do is sell meat. Not just any meat, human meat of the dead. That's the first sacrifice you will pay for wealth. Aman said. Aku was shocked at the demand. Fear plagued him, but out of desperation he accepted the offer. And what is the second demand? Aku asked. If you accomplish the first demand, the second demand, which is the last demand, won't be hard for you. Aman said. Aku, at a point, never bothered for the second time and accepted to give it a shot. After the incantations were done, Aku was given a red sack with white marking. Any human meat taken from the morgue is to be put inside that bag as it holds the power of wealth. Aku was given a contact to the morgue and he left. The next day evening, Aku found himself standing outside the morgue, his mind racing and too strong to execute the plan. He wondered if he is doing the right thing or wrong thing to escape his low life, but the taste of desperation has taken over that he didn't mind the cost anymore, even if he sells human meat to people. Inside, the morgue attendees was waiting. He led Aku through the dimly lit corridors to the cold storage, where rows of body parts lay under white sheets. Take your pick, he said casually, as if they were shopping for groceries. Aku's stomach churned as he approached the bodies, his hands trembling as he pulled back a sheet. The face of a young man, peaceful in death, stared back at him. Aku loaded the body into the sack that was given to him by the priest and loaded it into a van, driving back to a secret location room given to him by the priest in the dead of night. As he prepared the meat, cutting and packaging it like any other animal, and also mixing it up with other animal meat, his mind went blank. He was numb to the horror of what he was doing, focusing only on the money that would soon follow. He went back home that night like nothing happened. Her wife, Medea, worried that Aku has been spending time outside, maybe because of how frustrated he is, or maybe getting himself drunk, but she couldn't help it, not knowing what has happened. The next morning, Aku opened his stall as usual, but this time something was different. His display of meat seemed to draw people in, and soon customers were lining up at his stall. The flavor, the tenderness, it was unlike anything they had ever tasted. Word spread quickly, and within days, Aku's reputation skyrocketed. His meat was hailed as the best in the city. For the first time in years, Aku's pockets were full. He paid off his debts, bought new clothes for his daughters, and even treated Madia to a fancy dinner in the city's most expensive restaurant. Madia was grateful because things had started working out for her husband, but she still felt worried. Life was good. Too good. But deep down, Aku knew the source of his success was tainted. Every time he sold a cut of meat, he couldn't help but wonder who the person had been before their death as he mixed both animal meat and human meat together. As Aku's wealth grew, so did his ambition. He moved his business to a larger location, a gleaming butcher shop, imported meats on a large scale in the heart of the city, and built a bigger house. The neon sign above his shop door read Aku's Finest Meats, and customers flooded in daily, eager to taste the best the city had to offer. But with success came suspicion as people start to see that this is actually not luck, but instead something else. Madia noticed the sudden change in their fortune. While she was grateful for the money, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Aku was distant, often leaving late at night and returning in the early hours of the morning. He was jumpy, always checking over his shoulder as if expecting someone to catch him in the act. One night, Madia lay awake, her mind racing with questions she dared not ask. Aku's behavior had grown increasingly erratic, and she couldn't ignore the warning signs any longer. That night, when Aku slipped out of bed and left the apartment, Madia made a decision. She would follow him. Dressed in a dark cloak, she stayed far enough behind Aku as he navigated through the busy streets. The city was alive even at this late hour, with the sounds of traffic and the distant hum of nightclubs creating a strange backdrop to her mission. As she followed him, her heart pounded. What was Aku hiding? To her horror, she watched as Aku approached the morgue street. She stayed hidden in the shadows as he slipped inside, her stomach twisting with fear. Moments later, he emerged with bags of meat, loading them into his van with grim efficiency. Madia felt sick. The rumors she had heard about Aku's mysterious meat business suddenly made sense. He wasn't just a butcher, he was selling the dead. Madia never wanted to believe what she saw, as it might be something else. Her hands trembled as she watched her husband drive away. How could the man she loved, the father of her children, be involved in something so monstrous? Madia knew she had to confront him, but fear kept her silent. If she revealed what she knew, what would happen to her family? The walls of her life were closing in, and she didn't know how to escape. As Aku's wealth continued to grow, so did the demands of the secret society. One evening, Aku was summoned to a hidden location in the city's underground where the leaders of the society gathered in a candle-lit chamber. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and Aku's nerves were on edge. He had been living in fear of this moment, the moment when the cult would ask for something more. The leader, a man shrouded in black robes, stepped forward and addressed Aku. "You have done well, Aku. Your success is proof of your dedication, but to solidify your wealth for eternity throughout generation, there is one final sacrifice you must make." Aku's heart raced as the leader continued. "Your eldest daughter, Sachi, must be the final offering. Her blood will seal your fortune." Aku's world crumbled. His daughter? This was not what Cain told me, he said. The sweet girl who looked up to him with love and trust. How could he ever sacrifice her? But as the leader's words sank in, so did the fear of losing everything. His money, his power, his status, it would all disappear if he didn't follow through. The fear of returning to poverty overwhelmed Aku. He had fought so hard to escape the life of failure and desperation that now threatened to consume him once again. The temptation of holding on to his newfound wealth, of never having to struggle again, was too powerful to resist. Aku returned home that night, his mind a storm of conflicting emotions. He struggled to stay sane on the bed as Madia sensed something was terribly wrong. As he managed to sleep off, he was met with a terrifying attack in his dream that woke him up, sweating and terrified, and that was due to the rejection of sacrificing his lovely daughter to a secret society he joined just for money. Days and days passes by. Not only do customers stop coming to his shop to buy meats, he was also getting sick. Even the doctors could not diagnose what is happening to him. Madia knew the secret of what her husband has indulged himself into, and it was now the right time to ask him what is really happening. On his sickbed with bruises on his body, Madia sat beside him. "Aku, please tell me what is going on," she said in sorrow. Aku, trying not to burden his wife with his story. "I am fine, don't worry about me," he replied. Madia knew he was trying his best to hide what he is into. Madia opened up to him and told him what she really found out. Aku was shocked at the level of what his wife knew about his wealth. Aku, in tears, couldn't hide anymore. He started narrating the whole story to her. Madia was disgusted at the length and far her husband went just to acquire riches, but had at least a little compassion for the love for his two daughters were more than his desperation for money. But that doesn't mean Madia trusts him at that point with their two daughters. Panic and rumors began to surge through the streets about Aku being in a secret society and how he sells human meat to the people, and now his sins has caught up to him. The city was rocked by the revelation of Aku's gruesome deeds. His butcher shop was shut down after his secret was let out in the open. The city, which had once celebrated his success, now cursed his name. 1 year later, Aku died from his sickness and in anguish, and now his family is now left to pick up the pieces of the shattered life he had built. For Aku, there was no redemption for him. He died haunted by the faces of those he had betrayed, his customers, the dead, and most painfully, his family. But kind of a man who loved his wife and his two daughters, not use them for money out of his own failure and desperation, but the path he took haunted him till his passing day, as a consequence of every decision he ever made. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts or questions in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.